Hello, hello. Welcome to the Brew Is Back, uncut and uncensored. I am your host, Erickka Jones, and welcome to episode 3. We are talking about reinvention, reinventing oneself. Now, I think to start off, we have to define what does it mean? People talk about reinventing. I'm going to reinvent myself. We look at Madonna, the queen of reinvention, always coming up with that's one thing about Madonna. If you grew up in the era of Madonna, it's so funny because I just heard Holiday the other day, and I was in the car and I heard Holiday, and I remember at that time, so many of us thought that she was black. It was like, who is this, this girl singing this song, Holiday? And then we found out that it was a white girl. And at that time, white girls didn't sound, you had Tina Marie, but you hadn't really had a whole lot of like really soulful white women like that. So that's how Madonna started off with Holiday. But anyway, if you grew up in that age of Madonna, Madonna worked us to Madonna worked our asses. It was like every album was a whole, not just another look, but a new experience. Madonna gave you a whole new experience each time. A Material Girl and the whole, oh my God, the Vogue stage. But then there was the, was it the Truth or Dare stage, no, Justify My Love. She worked the hell out of us. We still recovering. So to reinvent yourself, it really, to me, when I think about reinvention, I think about just kind of being reborn. I think about shedding the old self and creating a new self, a whole new vision for your life with new possibilities. It's kind of like, to reinvent yourself, you almost have to believe in magic, because you have to believe that wherever you are right now is not where you're ultimately going to be. Rewind that, because I'll be getting deep and stuff. I'm not even saying that was deep. I'm just messing with y'all. But seriously, it's kind of like reinventing yourself. It's not easy. It's not easy. But I always feel like it starts with a vision. But before I get into all that, I really want to talk about what really inspired this topic. When I think about just how crazy it has gotten out there, it just reminds me that it's more important than ever to go balls to the wall. Whatever it is that you want, you have nothing to lose. You have zero to lose, because let's say our current president just got us nuked. Listen, I know it's dark, but just the whole country gets nuked. You don't want to leave this planet knowing that you wasn't standing on business. You want to know you died while doing it. If I die while doing it, look, take me. Look, Jesus was on the cross like this. That's why Jesus' arms was out, because he knew he stood on business. He went down fighting all the bullshit. He went down healing people to that very last second. He went down praying for his traitors. He went down like this. He didn't care that they wanted to kill him. He didn't give a shit about, because he knew that there was no death. He knew he came and he did what he had to do. Sometimes it happens in a short span of time. We might be 5 year old out, five in human years, 5 years old in this reality. We all scream gone too soon, but really, maybe they did what they came to do. Everybody is here to do something. And we cannot be stopped. But you will be tested. You will be tested. The minute you decide that you're going after that thing that is in your heart, that thing that you've been putting off, that thing that you know you're supposed to do, but for whatever reason, maybe you've just been too scared, but you walk around with it in here all the time. Even when it's buried deep, you still know whatever you're doing, you know you're not doing that thing, that thing. So you're going to be tested. You are going to be tested. And I always try to bring people on this platform. I'm always going to bring people on this platform that really speak to the topic and exemplify a point. My next guest is my girl, Dionne Phillips. Funny enough, she is from my hometown of Toledo. We lived in New York at the same time, LA at the same time. She is one of my homies. But really, really what I love most about this girl is when tested, when you are trying to reinvent yourself and the forces that come out, I talked about like, when the forces come from way back, they come from your past, they come from prior lives. If you're into that, they come. And just when you make that decision, hey, think I'm going to go for that dream, think I'm going to go get that degree that I've been putting off, they come for you with a force that you would not believe. So Dionne was tested like that. So in this episode, I am talking reinvention, like when is the best time to reinvent oneself. And just thinking about reinvention, I feel like you are the queen of reinvention, reinventing yourself. I've always been so inspired by how you started your business out of your kitchen, your eyelash business out of your kitchen to become one of LA's like premier and first eyelash extension experts, right?
Yes, globally.
Global.
No one knew what eyelash extensions were, you know, in the late 90s. There was nothing like it.
So Dionne, okay, so really what I am really inspired by most recently is you opening would you call it what would you call is it a lash spa? What do you call it?
Yes, it is D Lash's Lash and Wellness Spa. Short, I call it a lash spa. It's the first ever woman-owned, black-owned ever in Beverly Hills. A lash spa in Beverly Hills, or any spa that's owned by a black woman in Beverly Hills. So yes, it's all of that and more, so much more. I brought a lot of the wellness part of it is from my recent journey. Yes.
So let me ask you, so before you opened this spa, where were you? And so what inspired you to take such a leap?
Yeah. So prior to me moving into this beautiful, serene lash spa, I was in a salon suite for several years. Salon suite is like a doctor's office with all these different collaborative beauty businesses in one building. So everybody has their own individual business in one building. And I had a salon suite, which I had two suites, still in Beverly Hills, uh, with D Lashes. And I just outgrew the salon suite. I've been in a salon suite for like 16 years. I outgrew the concept of having all these different weird people around me all the time, even though they're beauty people. Some of them were weird. I had a really like loud ghetto, I like to say it that way, ghetto ass neighbor who I could not stand. And our managers pit us together, basically kind of doing this whole head button thing, and just always been thinking about having my own lash spa because there was nothing like it in the world, you know? And driving home every night, looking at spaces, just kind of daydreaming, basically daydreaming of like what it would be like if I would open up another business in a bigger space and on my own in a storefront, and could I do it, and do I need an investor? Like all these thoughts are going through my head. And right when I found the space in Beverly Hills, which is a half a block away from the salon suite I was at, on my way home, I found the perfect space. It was an art gallery. It was nothing in it. It was just a blank canvas, and I saw a vision. And the vision I saw, I called this salon designer guy that I know to help me create a space that I can bring all my celebrities and all my high-end clients and be basically a black owned business, because no one else was building businesses, even if it wasn't beauty. They weren't still building businesses post COVID. Um, and then the strikes happened and now the fires right now. But this was right after COVID. So thinking that people were going to come back and get their beauty businesses, and the whole era changed. You know what I mean? So that's another conversation we get into later. But right when I found the space, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, you know. And then as I was trying to leave the salon suite, then the managers there tried to get all the money from us being shut down in California for those, how many, we were out for like a year or so or whatever. They tried to get money, back pay, of them telling us that we didn't have to pay rent from me. So I ended up suing them. So I went, and I was going through a lawsuit during the time I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then now building out a brand new salon slash spa. Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you were diagnosed, how far into the process of building out this spa were you? Were you in the beginning? Were you had it started?
I was right in the beginning. I was just finished. I was going through my chemo treatments at the salon suite, trying to remove myself from that situation. And I was at the right at the beginning. I was still waiting for it was, which was a challenge, waiting for them to demolition, to start the process. That's what you do, demolition the space. And my contractors, I thought they were going to supposed to take 3 months. It ended up taking a year and a half for them to finish. So all the time I'm going through my chemo and my treatments, my radiation and my surgeries, I was dealing with going through construction and the delays of inspections and permits, with trying to get, them out there to see certain things. So there's a time where I just finished surgery, from what I remember, finished surgery, and they must have hit a nerve or something, so I couldn't walk. So I was in a wheelchair. And Terry was rolling me in a wheelchair to go look at. They just put up the beams inside the space. There was big piles of dirt inside there from demolishing it. There was no walls, nothing. So I built everything up in there. And I remember just rolling in there with my wheelchair, holding onto the beams, and just excited to see the beams because it took forever. But at the same time, you know, it their delay actually helped me recover. So it's God's perfect timing the way it all happened. At the time, it didn't feel like that. It felt like they weren't going to ever finish, and I was losing money. I had to renegotiate my landlord or my tenant improvement fee. At first, when you get a space, you work out a deal with your landlord, and then sometimes, because you're improving the space and you're giving value to that space, they give you like an allowance. So I had an allowance to get like 4 months free. Well, I lost that 4 months free. I was trying to be in it on 3 months, so I could at least have a month free to make some money and put it back in. I lost all those months because it just took forever. But
Let
yeah,
Was there ever a time where you wanted to just quit and say, "This is too much. What am I? Am I crazy? What am I
no,
doing?"
I couldn't. I could. I didn't have that. I didn't have that room to quit. Want to quit? I didn't. I was in. Once they tore the walls up and the floor, I was in it. I was in it, and I couldn't turn back. And I And honestly, when you're going through something that's so life altering and you're fighting for your life, is nothing but survival. You know, it was emotionally, it was spiritually, it was physically, all of it all at the same time. So going through the construction of my new place and then going to treatments and then figuring out, how do I feel? Am I going to faint? Am I going to get sick? Or fainting really on my client? Like, I was still working at a salon suite while I was going through chemo, my chemo days, but the next 3 days, that's when I was down for the count. I could not, I was just sleeping, I was tired, I was weak, so I didn't have room to quit. I had to keep going. And when you're in a situation like that, all you can think about is life. So I had to live. That was a big distraction, this whole construction and the lawsuit, to live my life to continue on what I'm doing right now.
Oh my gosh, Dionne. So where did you get the strength from?
I have no ideas. All I can say is God. God gave it to me, because every second of the day you're thinking, God, okay. At first it was scary when I was first diagnosed, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I was at some weird peace that I knew I was going to be okay. From the time the doctor told me, she was like, yes, it's breast cancer. And I kind of knew before I even got to the doctor's office, something weirdly told you that, or told me that. And I just had a weird peace, and it didn't hit me until after we had a meeting a week later of like our plan and what we're going to do, how we're going to execute this and get rid of this tumor in my body, so. And there were times I was like, okay, God, I'm going out like this. Like, I drink my protein shakes, I don't steal, I'm a good person, you know what I mean? you know so I was thinking, like, is it all the protein shakes I drank? You start going through all these thoughts and things, like, you
Dionne,
know
and how aggressive was the treatment for the breast cancer during this process?
finding out now, literally after a year after my surgery, I didn't know what my stage was. And that's the thing that people always ask, like, what stage are you? What stage are you? I didn't know. I asked them the first time, my doctor, which was my client, we'll get to that, my oncologist. I asked him, what stage was I? He goes, we're not going to worry about what stage you're in. We're going to worry about treatment and getting rid of it. That's the first thing he said. So I'm like, okay. And it gave me a heightened enthusiasm to, like, okay, keep going, you know? But learning now, I was stage 3
Mm.
breast cancer. So I had aggressive breast cancer.
So you had an aggressive, and so you did, and the chemo you did was how
Yes,
much
it
chemo
was
did you
five
do?
and a half months of chemo and a month. I wasn't supposed to have radiation, but after they found some here in my clavicle, then later on they decided they were going to do radiation. So I did a month of radiation, and then I had 6 surgeries already.
My God.
Yes,
Woo!
yes.
So what is happening with the cancer now?
I am cancer free. Woohoo! All glory to God. And woohoo, girl. Whew.
Woo! Congratulations.
Yes, and because I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot. I went deep within, but also there was some friends, like Tyreek was one example. You wouldn't think that Tyreek would come into this, being my trainer from New York to LA. He's like, Dionne, no, we got this handle. We got this handle. You got to talk to my friend Will, our boy Will. And so I know Will from the gym, from Crunch Gym, when I first moved out here to LA, and I just would know him, vaguely. But I started talking to Will because Will had stage 4 prostate cancer. They were getting ready to give him palliable care and hospice, and he turned his uh, prostate cancer around from 6,000 PCA, I think that's what they call it, to 0 by eating plants. He went plant based, and he is cancer free today.
Damn.
Yes. So I looked and researched with what Will did and listened to Will and did the same thing. And then, according to my doctors, you have to go in several weeks to measure. And my breast cancer was in my left breast above my nipple. and I felt it actually, so I knew something was off there. And I started eating plants, just plant-based everything. I cut out the meat, I cut out oil, and just ate fruit and vegetables and cooked everything in water. And I shrunk my cancer 60% in 3 months.
Deep.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
And when did you open the spa? The
I
last spa. When
The
did you?
lash spa, D Lashes, was opened up. We had the grand opening July 21st of 22. No, 23. Any of it.
Ooh, boo! You are
Yes.
definitely a superhero. I'm
Thank
like
you.
this girl that.
Girl, it does not feel like it when you're going through it.
Yeah,
It's nice to hear, but
yeah.
when I think you either, I think the doctors know as well, because if he would have told me my stage, I probably would have checked out. I
Yeah.
think most people do check out. You make two choices. You're gonna go for it, or you're just gonna check out. And I just decided to, like, okay, while I'm here, I might as well give it all I got. You know what I mean? Um,
And did you ever, just hearing the diagnosis, did you ever feel like checking out, or was it just always I'm gonna fight?
yeah, no, I didn't feel like checking out. I honestly just prayed and, like, okay, God, what do you have for me? What is this supposed to mean? Am I supposed to be um an example for somebody? Like, all these thoughts go through your head, you just don't know. So every day I just had to go through the motions. I didn't want to talk to a lot of people. I didn't want people to come at me with this somber attitude and energy. I said that, even on social media and to all my friends and family, I'm like, please don't come at me sad. People do start treating you differently. They still treat me differently. I see it and I feel it. However, I I just keep going.
Wow. You
You
like
know,
that on me? Don't put
don't
that.
put that. No, I don't want the energy. And I wanted to keep high vibrations to keep me alive at every cost. And I would do anything for it. I was literally fighting for my life.
That's
you
right.
know at that time I called it thugging it out. We're gonna thug it out. And we're gonna do it cancer couture. No one's gonna know that I'm sick. I'm not gonna look sick. I'm gonna keep that rule. I dressed up every day. I went to chemo, went at doctors. And
You did
I
not miss.
felt good.
You look
What's
good
it?
through that time. You did not miss a beat though. You
No, I had people confused, like, wait, you were just bald, but what? It was all liberating. It was definitely constantly reinventing myself every single day, going through it. So it was it was a challenge, and it still is, even post cancer.
just final question. When is the best time to reinvent yourself? Is there a good time, a best time?
I think the best time is to do it when you're down, when you're down, because what else do you have to lose? I think really anytime. It's not just when you're down, but anytime. Whenever you feel like it, whenever you feel inspired, whenever you get a jolt of energy, whenever you get a new idea. I think it's anytime is the best idea or time to reinvent yourself. I had to do it at all times. I didn't have no downtime to think about, you know, giving up or just letting go. I wanted to bring something to women so they can feel seen. Now that I'm able to live this next chapter, I'm able to give something back throughout my journey that I went through. I wouldn't want you going through that. So every chance I get, I know I probably get on some people's nerves. I'm always trying to give something to you. I'm like, no, eat the white button mushrooms, or you know,
And
I still have my French fries.
and you're advocate for telling people to get tested too, right?
Yes,
I got tested because of you. I went and got mine.
thank you.
Yeah.
And it's for you. It's not just testing, but 3D testing. Like, I was getting regular mammograms and it just missed it. I was telling my doctor I felt something hard. He goes, "No, it's not cancer." He kept saying that when we are going in for the COVID test. And I was like, "No, something is up." And I felt like there was a big baseball underneath my armpit, and I was like, something's off. And you know when something's off with your body. So listen to that. If anything, listen to it. I listened to it. I went and got two. I went and got one, and I went and got another one. 3D ultrasound mammogram where they put the gel. And I learned that the 3D ultrasound shows thousands and thousands of pictures versus a regular mammogram panini press. That's what I call it, panini press. Um, that felt like it's gonna burst your breast. It feels like you're gonna burst your breast. That only takes 4 pictures. So that's why I always advocate to get a 3D ultrasound mammogram, which is very important. That saved my life.
Woo wee, Dionne. If that story don't inspire you, you don't want to be inspired. Listen, not everybody wants what elevation is selling. Not everybody wants to elevate. Not everybody wants to get from A to Z. Some people stuck on C, and that's all they want. Just got to leave them there. So another person that I really wanted to have come on and talk about reinvention was my girl Fee King. Fee King is a freaking, she is a hurricane. This actress, host, writer, director. She wrote in and produced and directed a one woman show out in LA that was NAACP award nominated. She is a fitness guru helping women get unstuck. And she just wrote a book that she released called Her Story Unstuck. Now, this book I read in a few hours. It's a thin book. It's not very long, but it packs a very big punch. Fee, I just wanted to speak to Fee about what it took for her to get unstuck on the road to reinvention, because sometimes we just we can't even get to reinvention. We just can't even get to that space, and there are things that just hold us back. So this episode is on reinventing yourself,
Hmm.
reinventing yourself. What does it mean to reinvent yourself? When is the best time to reinvent yourself? And
Oh,
so
good.
I thought of you. I wanted to chat with you because, for one, I love your book.
Thank
Love it, love
you.
it, love it.
Thank
I
you.
read it so freaking fast. It was one of those things that you read so fast that you're like, dang, I kind of hate that it's over. And
That's
it's
what
not.
I want. That's what I want. I wanted a little bit of a cliffhanger. I want women to want and need more because it's not. It's a very it's very intentional. It's a part of a 3-book series, and I don't think emotionally I wasn't able to do all of it in one book, and I don't think other people can absorb it in one book. I think we have to pace ourselves with this story.
Well, listen, I definitely felt like I wanted more, and I wanted a second part. So I'm glad there's a second and a third. Do
Yes,
you know, have you started the second and the third? Do you know when it's coming out? Because I know you just released this one, and where is it available?
it is available on Amazon, but also I'm doing a new beta program. It's called Unstuck, en route to becoming unstoppable. So I'm doing a 7-day series. So I'm going to be giving the women the book for free, a free downloadable copy. But in the meantime, you can get the ebook on Amazon and you can get the paperback on Amazon. God willing, I'm going to drop the audio next month, May. So,
Again, it was a page turner, and I just saw this young woman on this journey. She's in this it was so relatable. She's in this relationship. She's stuck. She doesn't know how to get out, and she knows that she shouldn't be there, but she just can't quite get out. So that's how I see it. Could you briefly describe the book?
it's on a small part of it is about the relationship that I was in with someone. It was, I think, for me, it's more about the relationship that I was in with myself, the dysfunction that I was in with myself. So this is at the very beginning of my experience in Orlando. This is when I decided to leave LA for a relationship that came back around. I moved to Orlando. I sell most of my things. I have a few suitcases, boxes. So I'm in this new relationship. I'm starting over. Knew by the third day that I've got to get out, but I didn't know how. I didn't have the resources, and that's what I'm saying. I really felt like there was this cloud, this fog on my brain that wasn't allowing me to think clearly. The conversation that I had with God didn't quite sound like this. This is my interpretation of it. And it goes a little something like this. I know this is going to feel uncomfortable. I know this is going to feel like I'm against you. I know you're going to feel alone, but I assure you, I am doing this for your own good, for your highest self. And it took me until probably the 11th month to really get that. Because when I say I was confused, I don't recall using that word as it pertained to me before those 13 months. I don't recall being confused. I had moments of confusion, but to be living in a perpetual state of confusion, I was like, what just happened to me? And I really thought that something happened chemically and maybe medically, to where this is what happens when you become a schizophrenic. That's how off kilter and unstable I felt. And again, confused to the point where I didn't even have words to explain it or to express myself to friends. So I just kept it to myself because I was like, I think I'm, you know, I think I'm losing it.
What was the turning point?
It happened early on in my transition. So I left LA December 19th, 2016. 3 days in, I was lying on the closet floor to go to bed, on a floor, wrapped up in blankets with my cat. And I said to myself, like, this mistake is so big and so life changing. I don't know what to do. Like, I didn't think I had the resources. And really, when I say resources, it's not just about money. It's about having someone to call and say, I'm in trouble. I need some help. I need a lifeline. I didn't feel like I had that because I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, what have I done? I've sold everything. I don't have a job. And I realized that I'm going to have to ride this one out. And I remember saying that out loud on one of my walks. I was like, yep, I'm going to have to ride this one out. That means trusting the process without even knowing what the process is and really leading into God. And I thought I believed in God. I've never been a religious person. Prior to that, I had been studying Buddhism for a few years, which was amazing for me. But I don't think that I had a real relationship with God. And I remembered saying, what have I done so bad and so wrong in my life, God, for you to forsake me? That freaked me out because I was like, who is that? I don't speak that way. I don't use words like forsake. Like, what is that? But I realized early on that God was getting my attention. And while it made me very uncomfortable, it gave me something to hold on to. It made me realize, okay, I don't think I'm losing my mind, but something is going on. And what was going on was also the onset of menopause, perimenopause, and the loss of my hair, which is an autoimmune disorder. So I was dealing with that, dealing with feeling defeated in the decision that I made to leave my life in LA and go for this relationship. My cat had cancer. My cat was dying.
Oh my gosh, girl. Woo, everything.
It just seemed as if everything was hitting me all at the same time. And no one knew because, I would go live. I would talk about the loss of my hair. I'd keep a smile on my face. Internally, I was in so much turmoil. I mean, yeah.
And how long did this period of your life last?
I was living in that open air prison for 13 months.
When does reinvention happen? Was it a mental thought? Do you get unstuck?
Ooh.
unstick yourself and then you say, who do I want to be? Or do you deciding who you want to be leads you to unsticking yourself?
Yeah, that part. For me, Erickka, what happened was the pain that I was experiencing was so great. It was so intense. Every single day, I was in a perpetual state of feeling pain and uncomfortableness and confusion that that person is no longer who I wanted to be because that person was making decisions that were not for her highest good. And I knew it. And that person was so riddled with fear. And I thought, I've had moments of fear in my life, but I am now a full fledged scary cat. Like, I'm terrified. I am terrified to speak up for myself. I am terrified to speak my truth. I'm terrified to have friends because I'm going to be judged and ridiculed. Uh, I'm terrified to say, I don't want to eat that. That's not how I want to eat because I allowed this person to have this much control over my life to where I was just like, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore because this is not the person that I know. This is not the woman that my mother raised. She would be really disappointed with me right now if she, and then it was a balance of, I want to be nice. I want to be a good girlfriend. I want to be kind. I want to be loving. All of those things were going against who I needed to become in order to stand up for myself, in order to speak my truth, in order to use my own voice. And so for me, it started, I'll never forget, it started where it's always started for me, which is fitness. And I wasn't training when I lived there. I wasn't acting. I wasn't writing. I wasn't doing anything creative. And I had a trip with an Uber driver. So he's a driver, this very, very amazing Spanish guy, young guy. And we had something in common, which I tend to have something in common with all of my Lyft and Uber drivers. He was a trainer and he was telling me how, he just can't get any clients and things are not working out for him. He's like, I think I'm just going to go back to, he was working in a gym part-time, but he wanted to build a personal training business outside of the gym. Like that was my whole world. And so I lied and I said, yeah, that's what I do. I consult trainers. And so I created this whole thing called Empowerment Hour. I charged him $45. He came into there was a business area where I lived. He came in. I went through a whole presentation. Like it was on and popping. And that was the exact moment when I decided consciously and unconsciously to reinvent myself. I just got back to all the things that I love to do. And I stopped worrying slowly about the opinions of other people, i.e., the relationship, because I was so, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm walking on eggshells. I don't want to offend. And I was like, basically, I don't want to be me. Basically, what I'm saying to me is, I don't even want to be me anymore because apparently who I am is too much and then not enough. I was too much and then I wasn't enough.
Who were you? Who was that girl that you write about in the book at the beginning of that journey? And like you said, it kind of goes from you when you left everything, you gave up everything to go to move to Orlando for this relationship
Yeah.
that was not living up to like you already knew when you when you set out on that. That's why reading that book, it's like DMV, no,
The
no,
writing's on
come
the
on, girl.
wall.
We was rooting for you the whole way, but then but that's art, that's us
Girl.
too. Some of them decisions was like, oh shit, no, Fee, don't go. He's not right for you. He ain't the one. So, but you went. But
Girl.
who were you then to who you are now, and what are some of the ways that you're helping women today?
Yeah. I was a fraud. Yeah, that's who I was. I was a fraud. I was a liar to myself and to other people. I mean, I was saying yes when it was no. I was like, why are you saying yes to people? Not just men in relationships, but business decisions, creative decisions. I was a fraud. I was a liar. And I was dishonoring myself when I put other people before me and when I put other people's needs before my own. And I knew it, which is why so I was in this relationship with this person twice, and I was able to see more of my worth and my value the first time around. And then what had happened is I bamboozled myself. I started thinking, well, you are 46 now. So maybe at this age, you ought to want to settle down. You ought to want to have some help, some financial help. And then I had friends around me co-signing that, girl, you've been doing this thing called life on your own all your life. Like it's someone else's responsibility to take care of us, right? It would be good to have somebody help you out and to be there for your dreams and your goals, because that's how it was presented to me. And so I thought, okay, well, I should feel that way. I should want to do this. So let me convince myself that, yes, this is what you should do. So make yourself feel like it and then do it. But intuitively, I mean, at the core of my beingness, I knew I was making a mistake. I was like, oh, God is like, I'm so over you. You're so hard-headed. You're just so hard-headed. You won't trust the process. You won't trust that I got the will, that I know better for you than you do. You just think you do. And I feel like I had to, I don't like to use that word. I chose to go on that journey so that I could come out renewed and refreshed. Today I am confident. And I always thought I was, but confident women don't make those kind of decisions over and over. He wasn't the first. His was just it that one did me in though. But it was me, because I attracted that. I said yes to that. I was accepting of that. So it was me. I ought to thank him, really, for that journey and for that experience. And I came through it mostly unscathed. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Today I am full of gratitude. Today I know that I trust that all of my needs are being met. I don't have maybe all of my desires all the time, but I have every single need met. There's not one need that I don't have met. Yeah.
And you know what I want to clarify too? What were you accepting in that relationship? What were you getting? How was he treating you? You know what I mean? What was going on? What was the treatment?
I was accepting a lot of untruths that I again, I can't speak for other women, but I think I can. When someone is not being honest with you, you first feel it. It's a feeling in your body. Like that you don't know that you don't know, but when you know. And I knew, and I was just like, but I didn't want to believe it because I thought, like, you're a whole grown person. You're a whole grown man of a certain age. So no, this person can't just be lying to me. And if you care about me, why would no you why on our very first meeting, we had a meeting that ended up being a date. It was again a feeling. Now this is just a meeting, but everything about this person felt like marriage. Felt like I was like, this is so odd. And I remember telling my coworker that following Monday, because she knew about everything, because I was just so excited. Because again, for me, even though he was gorgeous, I was not looking at him like that. I was looking at, this could be a really good business opportunity for me. So I'm excited. Then things changed. It felt more like a date. We had a lot of chemistry, a lot of things in common. And I asked him, I said, are you married? He was like, look me dead in my eye. Like, he's good. He was like, no. Gave me how many years he'd been married or divorced. And he was like, why would you ask me that? And I said, you just feel married. And that sounds weird. Like, what do you mean I feel married? But he felt married from his car to the way he kept his car, everything about him. I shared that with my coworker, and she was like, Fee, That doesn't make sense. How does someone feel married?
Damn.
They feel married
Feelings.
when they are married.
Feelings, right? They feel married when they're married.
And I remember asking God, I said, God, if this is not for me, can you please take it away? And God did. And I was like, but wait a minute. Well, hold up. So what I meant was, God, what I meant was, can you give me more evidence? Can you give me more proof? Because
Yeah, no way. Ooh.
I want women to know that being stuck isn't a negative. It's not a bad thing. It's actually really good intel. So now you know, okay, I'm in this place. Who got me here? Oh, unless, and I think it's a chapter or a line in my book, unless someone took you by force, had a gun to your head, you went willingly. You said yes. You said yes. And guess what? You now get to say yes to you. And you now get to get yourself from where you are, whether it's career, your fitness, your health, your finances, from where you are to where you want to be. And not everybody can go with you.
Ooh, they said amen.
Not everybody can go with you.
Yes. Dimples. Did you see her freaking dimples? So with no freaking hair, you get to see all of it. And I just say that God didn't make no mistakes. God knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. If he is showing up, she is showing all the way up. The art of reinvention. Y'all still rolling? Y'all still with me? We still talking about reinvention? I got a little bit more for y'all. Y'all about to hear some things that have not been said. So recently I went home to Toledo and I got to kick it on a podcast called Let's Get to It. It was started by this guy, Mark, that I went to high school with. And one of the co-hosts is my girl, Nita, who has been on the show. She was on episode 1 and 2. So when I knew I was going home, I was like, yo, put me on, because I watched the podcast. I'll share the link. So sometimes I'm watching them. They talk about different subjects. So relationships and things. As it was one of the things that inspired me to do the Brew Is Back, because I'm sitting there watching them and I'm watching them saying, you should be doing your own podcast. It's 15 years ago, like I said, that I had the idea to do a freaking podcast. Watching them kicking it and laughing, I'm like, damn, really? Really? You just going to be sitting here on the sidelines for the rest of your life? Or are you going to start believing in yourself? Are you going to start believing that it's possible to open up your mouth and say something relevant? Say something that someone might want to hear. So I got to kick it on the podcast and we kicked around this topic of reinvention. And it was really cool to just kind of like toss it around and see. We just kind of extracted a little more from it. What does it really take to reinvent yourself?
It's a lot easier when you're younger. We have to acknowledge that when you start getting in your 40s or 50s, people start settling in. If they didn't reach those goals,
if you didn't do it by then, you figure it ain't going to happen.
They start feeling like it's over. They start over it.
And it ain't over as long as you breathing.
That's what I always say. I said, as long as
and
I'm
then
breathing.
when you get to this age too, or you get to the 40s and 50s and stuff, and you haven't really achieved any of the goals that you set for yourself or whatever, it becomes hard to even think about what else, you can't even, it's hard to see it. It really is hard to see it. I want to do something different. but what is it? What is it? And so how do you even pinpoint what that thing is, what that thing is?
It's funny for me. I keep finding that things that I used to do keep coming back. Things, kind of unfinished things, like music. I recorded an album 20 years ago and didn't release it until last year.
Right.
20 years ago. I had the idea to do a podcast 15 years ago.
Right.
15, and did one test episode. And it took me 15 years later to come back to it. So a lot of times is if we just look back at those things that we loved,
It'll come back to you.
Yeah,
Because we allowing somebody else to beat us to it. We already done thought about this. But we sitting back and we just like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, it's 500 more people than already said, I'm going to do this now. You know? Because they went out on a limb.
Right.
Regardless how it looks, regardless what people say and how they feel, you know what I'm saying?
It's
what do I feel about
Everything's
me?
opinionated.
You know?
Let's
go and do it.
Getting
just
started.
do it.
Like, and that's what I'm hearing from you too. Like, just get started. Because it's going to evolve. It's going to change. It has
Let's
to.
get to it.
Let's get to it.
One thing I found interesting, and it's true, because you said you just have to be yourself. And that's true. And it's interesting because in order to reinvent yourself, you have to be yourself. And that's kind of, think about it, that's kind of deep. Because
but is it really reinventing yourself
or coming
into who you are?
Exactly.
It's
You
who
know,
you
because we
being.
done had a whole bunch of
Right.
holdbacks, you know?
Right. That's my point.
You know,
That's my
a lot
point.
of
That's why I
setbacks.
said it's really interesting. You have to be yourself. Speak of reinventing, but maybe you're just coming back to who you really are meant to be. You know what I'm saying?
And
but it is
desires
a
that you
reinvention,
had,
right? You know, it is it's a play on words. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's almost like a redo, like a restart, a rebirth. You know, a rebirth.
And at this age, it is hard because you have life happening. You probably
It's a lot of change.
Most people got adult children, grandchildren. You know, and
because y'all old. Y'all
He's
old.
seasoned. I don't know what you talking about. I'm marinating, so therefore, nothing.
Boom. Y'all, if I really had my wish about this episode, in an ideal world, everybody within earshot of my voice would realize that you have everything you need within you right now to soar, to excel, to create a vision, to come up with a vision, to reconnect with the vision, to reinvent yourself, whether it starts with a hairdo or getting your body in shape or going on that trip that you've been thinking about for years, but just did not have the courage to do it, or just couldn't find the time. My wish is that you realize that you are worth it, that you are worth it. You're worth the blood, the sweat, and the tears to come up with a vision and to go for it, balls to the motherfucking wall. That's one of my most favorite sayings. I say I'm going balls to the wall on it. So as I realize that it's so much easier said than done, I realize that I can sit up here and pump you up and say, you the greatest, you got this. Come on up with that vision and just go for it. Go for it. You know how to go for it. You know what to do. How do I do it? What? And to a large extent, that's going to be figured out by you. But I do have some help on the way. My lips getting dry. I have a book that I am sharing with you. This book definitely changed my life. It was a life changer. It is a short book, but I don't know. I guess the theme is short books that pack punch, because this book has been translated in so many different languages. It has sold millions of copies. I am not getting any type of affiliate link from it, because as I try to bring this new podcast to you, really what I'm most concerned with right now is just being consistent, coming back each week with a new topic. Just keep it coming, keep it coming. Keep it coming. I'm a one-woman army. Doing this by myself. So I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm interviewing. Sometimes I'll be up at midnight interviewing somebody on a different time zone because I got to get the story, So anyway, I'm sharing this book. I don't get nothing from it but the satisfaction of knowing that if you get it and you read it, you are going to feel so empowered. You're going to feel so empowered. This is one of those books that I tell people about all the time, or I'll send it to them for their birthday, just because I know it's life changing. It just gives you that little spark. So if you are looking to reinvent yourself among all the other different things that you do, sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's cutting out all the noise and making your circle really small. Maybe it's we get a sense of what we need to do to reinvent ourselves. We always tend to kind of know. Yes, but this book right here is just kind of like gives you some step-by-step guides. Now, after all of that, without further ado, ta-da! Look at my beat up copy. My copy's so beat up. I used to keep this thing in my purse before. That's how I got so beat up, because I'd be like, okay, and I'm actually going to put it back in my purse because I think I might need to revisit some things. You know how sometimes you need to just revisit, like, okay, what did that thing say, dude, when you feeling like this? That's what this is. So I'm about to put this back in my purse, and it's called U Squared. And it is an old, no, it's not that old, but it's not that new. And it's about basically how to take a quantum leap. It says a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps. So a quantum leap, I'm talking like a huge leap, which is the same thing as reinventing yourself. How do you take that leap? How do you evolve very quickly and in a big way? U Squared will help you figure that out. And the author is Pritchett. Price by Price Pritchett. See, I don't even really know this guy's name. It's just the book that we talked reinvention. We were inspired. We got a book recommendation, and I hope we really got a sense of a feeling of F it, shoot your shot. With life, shoot your shot. Shoot it. Shoot it with everything in you. Shoot it. So when you get to those pearly gates, you can say, I shot my shot. Shoot it, because I'm shooting from all cylinders. I'm like, that's me on a daily basis. I wake up like, get my Glock. Shooting my shot. All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends. My sister out here, putting the time in. So all I'm asking y'all to do is subscribe, like, comment, tell some friends, and then you're going to see me again. And we're going to be chatting it up about something else. Check me out, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any one of those. Check me out. Check out your girl. Holla at your girl. The Brew is back, uncut and uncensored. You have just finished episode 3.